Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
This is Stan in Gainesville, Florida, USA, and it's time for Light Talk.
Good morning. This is Ellen in tropical St. Barts, and today we have a very special guest on Light Talk.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 259. Well, David is still in Helsinki. It looks
Not
like
true.
daylight is not true. Is he back?
He's in the plane. He's in midair over the Atlantic. Right now, he's been texting me.
Well, good for him. He's flying into our semi-permanent daylight savings time. You know, if Congress has their way,
That's
and
right.
Mr. Biden signs off on it. And today, we have the original international man of mystery, phoning in all the way from Dubai. Ellen, let's bring our guest on down.
Dubai.
Great. Koert Vermeulen, founder and principal designer of ACT Lighting Design, is a Belgium-based lighting and visual designer who creates lighting, set, video, and content design for public experiences worldwide. Since 1995, his work has broadened from entertainment and architectural lighting design for retail projects, city master plans, heritage sites, and exhibitions, to experience and immersive environments. Koert's ongoing collaboration with Balich Wonder Studio has solidified his position as a world-class lighting designer for large-scale events and special projects, including the recent 89th Saudi Arabia National Day celebrations and the illustrious visual scenography for the iconic Tree of Life installation at Expo 2015 in Milan. In addition, Koert has worked together with Puy de Fou for more than 8 years, from lighting the Cinesceni in France to the brand new El Sueño de Toledo superproduction in Spain. Other distinguished projects include the multimedia installation at the National Airport in Brussels, the lighting for the Erasmus Bridge in Rotterdam, and the immersive installation IMX inside Zeleno Park in Moscow. He also recently designed the opening and closing ceremonies for the first Youth Olympic Games in Singapore and the Star in Motion art installation at the top of the Kingdom Tower in Saudi Arabia for the Noor Art Festival in 2021, for which he received 4 awards so far and 1 Guinness Book World Record, the only lighting design company who has that on their resume. So, Koert,
Wow.
welcome to Light Talk. How are things in Dubai? What time is it?
It is 7:25 at the moment p.m. So it's dark, dark outside already, yeah.
So the lights are on, Koert.
The lights are on. The lights are always on in Dubai, that's for sure.
Were you working today? Are you completely exhausted and hungry now?
Well, I'm trying to take a couple of days off because I just came from Saudi. And in Alula, we did a very nice concert with an Italian composer and pianist called Stardust. But I don't know if you know Alula. It's that archaeological site with, amazing rocks and amazing scenery. And so we were able to use actually that scenery into the concert itself. It's beautiful. I'll show you some pictures a little bit later.
Love it. Love that kind of site-specific stuff. Yeah, lighting the nature.
Yeah. No, that's it's been a thing of me throughout the years. From very early on, I was the one that they called if there was something special to light outdoors. And so that's my bread and butter, almost, if I can say that.
How did that happen? Did that just fall into your lap, or was that just a natural evolution, or something you were attracted to? Or?
Well,
I'm kind of jealous, so I just want to know.
I think it's more purpose-driven. It was my 2 colleagues in Belgium that were also lighting designers. One of them was really into concerts. The other one was really into TV markets. And so I didn't want to interfere with that. So I kind of grabbed what was left.
Well, not a bad leftover.
Yeah. So that drove me from the events and also a lot of the techno scene, or what you call the house scene that we called in that day, through architectural lighting, and from architectural lighting we went to do this kind of big outdoor events and going strong from there.
So can you talk a little about your evolution of being a lighting designer? Where did you start, and what's happened over the career?
Okay. Well, me personally, I started when I was about 14 years old. I was already working a little bit with two friends of mine who were older, and they had this kind of like a, disco club kind of thing going on, and they needed someone, to take care of the lighting. And so I did that, and that's how I really rolled into it until they were taken away from that thing because their parents thought that they were going to the wrong direction. And so I took over that little business and started from there. So when I was 18, I was, practically having a small business going on with four of my friends, and we were doing fashion shows and little concerts and doing the first house raves and stuff going on. Whatever we could put our hands on, we were doing it. And that evolved into my first real business, which was a rental firm for lighting and sound, which a lot of people that come into lighting design actually come from. And doing that for 5 years, I sold my shares to the company to my two colleagues, and I started the first incarnation of ACT lighting design, which I called it Art Concept Technology. So that's what the ACT actually stands for.
Okay, I was going to ask what that was. Great, Art Concept Technology, great.
And that was 1995. And so the first 5 years, I was mostly doing a lot of work alone into these kind of events and outdoor spectaculars and stuff like that. But around 99, the architectural work started to get an appearance, because people saw how I was doing lighting for those special events, and they thought, oh, maybe we can do this permanently. And so I got asked to do work on the church of this and the cathedral of that, and so on. So the architectural side started to get an interesting byproduct of the lighting design itself, but for which I really felt that I needed a partner. And so Bruno de Meester came into my life, and he's still with me today. So that's 27 years that we are, 22 then, that we are still working together. And he's still head of the heritage department in what is now a 22 people business that we have, in which we have 12, 13, 14 designers, 2 partners, and going from, marketing, sales, all those kind of things together. So for European norms, we are quite a big company. In the meantime, I know what I'm talking about. Every month I have to pay, the bills, so I know what it's like to go there. But, over those 25 years, starting really in the events and, big one-offs through architecture, I think around 2005, after 10 years, I did the lighting for Franco Dragon's Le Rêve in Vegas. So I was the original designer of that, and that really put me on the map internationally. So that was a big step. Video design already came into place at that moment, so I started to, put video design also into my toolbox. 2010, the first Olympics that I did at the Youth Olympics in Singapore, where I was the full visual designer of the show. So video, lighting, special effects, water, fireworks, everything was a little bit under my supervision, let's call it. And I like that, so I built on that further. So today, lighting is still our main focus of the company. I don't think we'll do a project without lighting or lighting design, but we are interestingly taking care of all the visual aspects, and water or the aquatic effects are a big thing for us today. I mean, that's thanks to Franco, because he introduced me to water in the first show, and I was able to, cook up a lot of stuff and try out a lot of stuff for that show, and that kind of, hooked me on water and how to light water in a way. Alan did a magnificent article on that appeared on LDR, on Lighting Dimensions magazine. Still then, I think it was Lighting Dimensions, still called it that way.
It probably was.
Yeah. So then, just to round it off from that whole visual design element taking control, I think the pinnacle was then 2015, the expo where the Eiffel Tower of Milan and the Tree of Life became my thing. I was the one creating all the visuals and the metteur en scène, like we say in French, the art director for that kind of thing. And since then, we have been just going forward with that and taking on also sometimes the engagement part of the with the public. So reactivity, interactivity, those kind of things are also part of our scope of works that we do.
That's impressive. Really impressive. I got the next question, but before I ask my question about the Olympics, you got big, 22 people. Was that sort of surprising to you that growth happened, and do you like it, or did you you're paying the bills and now you're responsible for other people's mortgages and such. Do you enjoy having that size firm, or how do you feel about that? And then I'll ask my other question.
Yeah, well, we have this saying, it's the sword cuts on two sides, I love it to have a team of people, because I think the creativity and everything that comes with it is much higher, much better once you are in a small team. I'm not saying you have to do brainstorms with 5 or 6 people in the room, because frankly it doesn't work. But 2 or 3 people together, you can build on each other and you can actually bring it up towards something which is always more than what you could have done alone or yourself. So that's certainly one thing. And I kind of learned early that I like to share. I like to, involve people and learn from other people also in this kind of job. So those are the 2 good things that you have by having a, company like this. The fact that we have, those kind of departments, the architectural side and the art installations, and then the pure entertainment part, it's also the reason why we have so many people in the firm, because, it's a dedicated team that you need for these kind of projects. And so that, that works in a kind of way that I feel that it's helping the company grow. It grew organically, like one person every 6 months or every year. Sometimes we went back a few, then we went back over it. So it's the market also decides a little bit for you. You want to do this job, well, you need these kind of people here.
Thank you for that. That's really cool to hear. How were you involved in the recent Olympic closing ceremonies? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a thing. So I was only involved in the closing ceremony because the next Winter Olympics will happen in Italy, in Milano Cortina, which are 2 cities, 2 regions actually in the north of Italy that will host the next Winter Olympics, and for which there was always a section in the closing ceremony which they called the Flag Handover, which 20 years ago was just they put the flag, gave it to the next mayor, and that's it. But in the meantime, the visiting country now gets a segment, 7-8 minutes, in which they can actually show a little bit of what they want to show and invite people in a way over to come and see in 4 years the next Winter Olympics. So that segment was ours, and because I worked with Balic Wonder Studio on this kind of project, and Marco Balic and me, we are a good fit together artistically. We kind of like each other. I like what he does. He kind of likes what I do. So we are working closely together in the last couple of years. And this flag handover was very important for him. As of course we want all of us to become, the production company for the opening and closing ceremony in 2026, of course. But it was quite a challenge to work under the circumstances that was the Beijing Winter Olympics, because that's the whole story. And I think that's also why I think
let's hear it.
That's a good thing to tell. Well, most of you have heard that we had all these bubbles, and you can't touch this, and you can't be in relationship with Chinese people that are outside of your thing. So it all started already when we came on board in the airplane, and it's a direct charter flight that goes from, in this case, from Milano straight to Beijing, is where even already all the the people helping on board are completely like we are Chernobyl. They're completely with the white things, diver helmet, mask in front of us, double mask with the filters extra, tape around the wrists and the ankles, really in a way that you think you are, you're number one in the Ebola virus camp here. So that's how they.
For our listeners at home right now, Koert is standing there dressing himself. He's waving his hands in the air.
Yeah.
He's wrapping gaffer's tape around his hands. He's putting his helmet on. I'm sorry you're missing this because it is wonderful.
Yeah, I think I got that from the Italians in the meantime, that I'm, when I talk, I use the hands now. It helps to convince people, I assure you. The more you do,
animated,
the more you do with your hands, the more you grab them and you put them into your own storytelling.
It's the passion.
Yeah. Where was I? Yeah. So in the plane, you get a bag of food, in a plastic bag, and 3 waters and some beef jerky and those kind of things, for which you have to do the 10-hour flight. If you want to go to the toilet, you need to ring the bell, and you can only be one person at one time going to the toilet. That's, it was a whole, thing. Arriving, we had to do 2 PCR tests, one 48 hours before we left and one 24 hours before we left. Upon arrival, a special gate, a special area just for us. Nothing is in there. It's completely empty. There is no stores open. There's no vending machines, nothing. So PCR test again, measurements, lots of stuff. Finally, you get into a bus. The bus is closed. The chauffeur is also completely wrapped up and completely sealed off from us with plexi.
Wow.
And they bring us to the hotel. And the hotel is fenced, with some police, some military people just watching an eye. I mean, they're not there with their guns, but they are looking out for us. So let's call it this way. So you can be in your hotel there. You can be free. Every day a PCR test, every day. And then you are taken back into the bus to the stadium. And there is then, what they call the area 0, which is for us, and the other area, which is then for the Chinese team that we cannot interact with. And so there is literally a glass wall between us and them, and there is no way of communicating, not seeing them. They are on other levels in the stadium, so we can't interact with them. I couldn't even, like they do in the films where you can touch each other through the glass, you can at least communicate verbally or something. That wasn't even possible.
This is a team that's helping you mount your show?
Well, that was a challenge we had to, look into. And we knew from the start that this was going to be, it was written down in a paragraph of like 6 sentences that this would be. But you cannot imagine it until you're actually there and you're in front of this, beast that you have to try to caress and see what you can get out of it. So it became what I call lighting design by WeChat. WeChat is like WhatsApp that we have, but then for the Chinese version. And that's what it became, because in the beginning I made this huge queue list in which for every queue I described what I wanted for each topology, what I need to be done. The backlight needs to do this in this color and so on. Everything was translated to Chinese, and I sent those documents to them, and it came back with more questions than ever. So we also did visualizations. So we took with us our own console and the setup of the whole setup. We used Depends 2 as the visualization suite, because it was the only one really giving us the right quality and 3,000 fixtures, moving heads is quite a lot to visualize in any
That's quite a lot.
in any visualization suite. But depends was the one who was the most reactive, and that's why we kind of went with it. So for each queue, we also made a photo, a render that we said this is how it has to look like. That all was sent to them. But then, communication came back once a day through one email with questions and stuff like that. Until through somebody and somebody else, I found the WeChat number of one of the 4 operators that was in the tech room, in the console room, and who spoke English. And then finally, I was able to communicate with him through WeChat, and during rehearsals, I was sitting out in the cold because it was really cold. It was -4, -8 in the stadium, and we were just looking at the rehearsals, and we only had programming time during rehearsals with them. They wouldn't do anything else because they were programming the rest of the show, of course. So I was like WeChatting like this. I've got an enormous list of things, sending out extra visuals, scribbling on my iPhone and sending it to them, and this kind of way. And so step by step over 5 days, I was able to, get to the final result of our segment. And I was also very lucky that those Chinese operators were actually very, very good. They were, they knew their consoles. When I describe something or I show something, they copied it like really, really, really good. So if that was not the case, I don't think I would have been proud of what we have done there, because those guys really showed off a lot of operators that I know that they are, they say they can do all the stuff, but they don't. So.
I just have to say, you're totally blowing out my image of how glamorous I thought the work would be. That doesn't sound glamorous at all in terms of the process, But you were able to pull out the result. But it sounds like in some ways guerrilla lighting to kind of that much translation going.
Yeah,
back
guerrilla communication. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And luckily they were capable of keeping up, and also just I'm a perfectionist. I like to do stuff very precise, and so
did you have to adjust your expectations on this one a little bit?
Not in terms of the things that I could get from them, but the things there were also a couple of things I couldn't get from them, and one of them was the real the handover of the flag itself. I wanted to create within the arena, within the stadium, the flags, the colors of the Italian flag, in which I literally took the arena, split it up in 3 parts: one green, one white, and one red. And so all the lights split up in those things should be red, just pointing down and pointing up. With 3,000 fixtures, we have more than enough to do. It just bounces everywhere, so it doesn't mind. That I never got from them. And it was, they never said it with those words, but every day I asked, when can I see that cue? And they said, it's difficult. We don't know yet. So after the 4th day, I just asked them, I won't get it, will I? ? And then they said,
I have one follow-up. Did you find that giving them the visualization images helped? Like, would it have been as good as you got without it? Enormous.
Yeah, because I can literally take one of my visuals that we did and hold it against a photograph of the other one, and it's the angle of the camera is not the same, but when you look at the backlight, you look at the lighting of the stage, the lighting of the audience that's behind it, it is almost exactly the same. Yeah,
beautiful.
That was cool.
I remember the days when we didn't have that stuff. You had to draw it.
Yeah.
So I think it's yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think the flag was politically motivated, that they didn't want to do it?
Yeah, I can't confirm this, of course, and I won't. I don't want to burn any bridges here. But I understood, implicitly that was cancelled. Yeah.
Resistance. There was resistance.
Yeah. They said only our flag.
Well, you're working in a political environment at the Olympics, a globally political environment.
Yeah, and I learned later on that there was actually a political man sitting in the control room, making sure
China,
that
yes.
nothing went wrong.
Right.
Yeah. But, it's not the first job that I do in China. I've done 6 or 7 jobs there, most of them more permanent things. This one is a special. Most of the others, there is a very, hierarchy. And, when you do a presentation to them and, the first 7 people that start to talk are actually just, hierarchy-wise, you go up. It's only whatever says the last guy is what is important. All the rest doesn't matter. That I know the way it works there. But I mean, this one was special. And I was lucky at the end that I was able to sit down with the shaders in the OBS control room. And I could, I was with them, so I could warn them about where the lighting would be like this and like that, so they could, tweak the cameras to what I needed. And I must say that was also very, very helpful that they allowed me to be in the control room with them and for my segment to, to play with that and say, here the content is like this and that content is like that. So take it down. This must be up, open up here, and go down there. That was also very helpful to be there.
So let's talk about LEDs. Are you completely sold on LEDs? Is that what you do, in total now? Maybe you could talk about some of the challenges that this new equipment is posing for you.
Yeah, I can. I have to split it up. Depends on what segment of the work that we're working on is important. If we do architectural projects today, you cannot go without any LEDs anymore. It's impossible because you got all the legislation that comes around the phasing out of all the bulbs that you're doing. So no way of doing an architectural project that needs to be there for 5 to 10 years and not use LEDs today. That's an impossible thing. The white light that comes out of the LEDs of the proper LED manufacturers, for me is more than even better than what fluorescent used to be. So I'm quite happy by using full LED in most of our architectural projects. We even for retail, even for consumer goods, supermarkets and everything, we have done most of the projects in the last 5 years with full LED. Sometimes with a mixed result, sometimes, some of the LEDs were not the way we thought that they were going to be. But for the quality that it was supposed to represent, and especially in comparison with CDM or HID or the fluorescent lights, I think we went better. At home I still have incandescent bulbs, and I bought a bunch of them so I can go out of my life with them. But that's that's also because the fixtures for which they're done, some floss, design fixtures that, I need to put those in. You can't put a LED bulb in there because, it was conceived in the 50s and the 60s or whatever. So you can't, I can't conceive it with something else than that.
Sounds like you have a nice collection at home of classic lamps.
I've got a few. Yeah. Actually, the main thing that I'm really into is champagne. Actually, so I'm a champagne collector, but also a drinker. So I drink what I collect. Yeah. That's
I had a business question that came up when you were talking about the Olympics. Who is the client? Like who do you contract with when you're doing something of that scale, and do they pay you on time? That's kind of a tongue-in-cheek question,
Well,
right? But who are you working for when you're working on something of that size?
Yeah, well, usually for one of the producers, especially for the Olympics, the Winter Olympics here. I was working for Balic. Balic is contracting me, and Balic is being paid by the Italian organizing Olympic Committee.
The committee is ultimately
Italian,
the client.
The Italian Olympic Committee, because they're already in place, because they have to do Cortina and Milano Cortina in 4 years. When I was doing JOG, Youth Olympic Games, it was direct for the Olympic, the Singapore Youth Olympic Committee, and always nicely paid. Singapore is.
Well, Singapore, I would expect that. I was wondering if it was a slow pay coming out of China, just out of curiosity.
Okay, no, not in this case. No, and Balic is a good pace, normal, most of the time.
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Going back to those LEDs, if I look at the other scope, which is maybe in one word, entertainment or art installations, then I'm open. And I really feel that whatever gives me the right, look and feel or visual that I'm looking for will be my instrument of choice. In the last couple of productions, in the last couple of years, we've still been using, a Sharpie and a Mythos and those kind of things, which have, the HID sources or the, MHD, whatever it is today. Discharge sources. So I grew up with those. I love them. I get everything out of them what I want. Not doing TV myself, unless for those kind of big moments. I am less prone to going into that kind of there's a little mild shift to the green or whatever in that lamp, so I don't like it. I mean, most of my stuff is big stuff outdoors, and we're already happy that we have a light source that actually goes and does the job and stays on during the rain and the fall and the snow and whatever that we have that we are encountering. So that little mirrored shift that comes in,
it's inconsequential at your scale, at that scale.
Yeah, also, right? And frankly, looking at the Puy du Fou is a theme park in France that has won a lot of awards. TA awards and the APA awards and whatever, as the best theme park in the world, the last couple of things. They have a show that is already running for 48 years, which is the Cinesceni. That's how we pronounce it, Ellen. The Cinesceni.
Sorry. Cinesceni?
Yeah, you were very close. And so it's...
I have to go,
Yeah, maybe you can redo it, but let's see.
Cinesceni?
Cinesceni. So it's cine from cinema,
Cinesceni,
and now scenic.
I got it. And
from scenic.
From scenic. Wait.
Yeah. So it's scenic cinema. That's basically what you're doing. So
Cinesceni.
Yeah. So for Puy du Fou on the for the Cinesceni show, which is I think literally from my knowledge the biggest show on earth, permanent. In a way, because they have literally 3,700 actors on stage at the finale. There are 17,420 people looking at this enormous stage, which is 240 meters wide, so it's about 700 feet or something. It's 110 meters deep, so close to 350 feet deep. And a lot of it is water, and you've got all those actors, and the whole thing is you got 500 people backstage and people in the technical part doing all this kind of thing. They are that kind of thing where they don't want to see the actors' faces, for instance. It's one of the things that we had to, they want to see them, but they want to recognize them. So we are at liberty to do stuff, lighting people in pale green, or lighting them in very saturated colors, because the idea of the lighting is to follow the narrative and the storytelling. And so we came up with an idea for, if we are in the dream world, this is the color. If we are in the war, this is the color. If we are in a happy place, this is the color. And so we're lighting people in those shades, without making sure that we don't see the people's recognizable faces like you would a superstar or a band or whatever. It is because those people all have alternatives. The guy who plays the prince, well, there are 5 princes, and so they do a role over the weeks that they are playing. And so they want the character to be a character. They don't want the character to be a person. And so that kind of lighting is also very interesting. And you can commit to being very low in your CRIs and everything, because it's all about, the color narrative that we have put in place.
Interesting. Yeah, and I guess that works. I'm thinking about the scale that you're describing, and so it becomes more about, it's almost iconography rather than the story and individual sort of nuance. Nuance is sort of out the window in a way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is not a moment. Yeah, I mean, we got one moment in the show. There's one person walking by, and it takes 15 minutes almost. No, that's a lot. It takes 6 minutes and a half for him to cross the stage. That's how it starts. And then once in a while we have, but most of the time it's always filled with like 300 people and 200 there. And so that people are looking at all those things together. And that's why the special effects and the water and the lasers and the video projections and everything all become also such an important part of the storytelling. And
you said the audience is 70,000? The audience is 70,000? 17.
Yes.
Okay.
All sitting down on a bleacher that goes almost 28 meters high at the end, I think, from the level down. It's quite impressive.
How long does that show run? It's about an
hour,
hour,
it's
2 hours?
It's 106 minutes.
106
it used to be
minutes.
117, and over the years we kind of took it down already a bit. Yeah, and people sit outside, when it's raining, the show goes. I think over the 47 years that they have been running this show, I mean, in the beginning it was not like this. It started as this, mom and pop shop kind of thingy with, a couple of bleachers and, 2 horses and something. But in the meantime, it's really become this mega production, and it runs from June to September. So that's the season.
It's on my bucket list now.
Oh, you should.
It's definitely on my list.
But I would then say to you, Pretty Foo then opened in the last 2-3 years a new theme park in Spain, in Toledo, and it also started with also a mega show outside. But there it's a bit smaller in size, but they went for professional actors. So we have 350 people on stage with the horses and everything, but those are professionals. And so focus is different. The choreographies are much more elaborate. Costumes are more elaborate. It's less figurative. It's also really about acting. And I would suggest that you first go and see Spain, see how that works, and then go to France and see the mega production. They're not so far away from each other. I mean, a good day's drive and you can go from one to the other. I mean, maybe 2.
Maybe 2. That sounds like a plan.
We have to start doing some light talk backstage tours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. There we go, Ellen. Ellen is always thinking like a marketer.
Well, with the TEA, we have done backstage tours in Pretty Foo and everything. Right. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a themed entertainment, so it's normal that they kind of do that. Yeah.
We got a really great picture of the challenges that you met in Beijing. Have other projects been impacted by the pandemic or the post-pandemic?
We were fully on programming the new water show for Pretty Foo France when pandemic, started. And so we switched everything to offline programming. And it was in a time because, pandemic first started at the 14th of March or something like that. And we had to open on the 1st of June. And so in that time, it was very, very difficult for us to travel, even just from Belgium to France, which is like a day's, with a car, it's 6 or 7 hours of driving. It's not that humongous. But having to cross the borders was impossible. So we kind of put everything into offline. So we were programming during the day, putting it all in the visualizer, a number, and then we sent the disc, not by courier, of course, just by email, to the console operator on site, who put it into in the console over there, ran the show a couple of times, and recorded the artistic director, Nicolas Devilliers, who was there, and he was giving all his notes during the video recording, he was, talking into it. And so we got the visuals of what we saw, what was working, and all the notes from him. And so the next day we were working on those notes and programming a bit further. And so we did that for almost 3 weeks to get to the show and get it ready for rehearsals. And that was, normally we would have gone on site for a week or so and do all that thing on site. But now over 3 weeks, we were able to get to a certain level of, finishing. And we then were able to go actually on site with a special permit and blah, 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 that we had to go through the embassy to get them. And then, Luke and me, we went with the car to Pidifu and stayed for 4 days for rehearsals to finish the show off. But that was also a little
And were they actually open in June of 2020?
No,
did they actually open?
No, they couldn't. I think they finally opened on the 15th of July or something. On the 14th of July, I think they finally opened. But they wanted to be ready because they said, they were pushing the government also. I know they opened a week earlier than actually was allowed. But, they said they opened and they said if the governor wants to come and shut us down, you should come.
Right. This is a conversation for another day, but this whole thing about, staying at home and programming via whatever you were programming by long distance is really probably a way of the future.
It is.
People are going to save their carbon footprint and cut down on, costs and flying. And, you go at the end, but you could probably do a whole lot of the previz and the other programming from afar.
Yeah, I think we were already doing that a lot. Designing already in 3D with those kind of programs. We were doing that to make sure that positions, because, we're not in a straightforward theater where, you got your Alex bars, whatever. We always have, strange places and stuff. So we are, we send out a drone, we map out the architecture or the landscaping, we put that into a program so we know actually where we can put our stuff, yes or no. But going so far is, that we are finishing almost the show. But I can also say from my point of view that we are capable with the tools that we have today is to have maybe 70% of the show ready. The other 30, I don't feel comfortable not going on site and just saying, listen, here's the 70%. It will work. It will work. Of course it will work. But I wouldn't put my name underneath that. I still need the on-site thing is still very necessary. How does the costume really react to the lighting that you think you put? Even if you put the JPEG of the costume on the model that you put in your 3D program, you don't have all those things. And what about the happy coincidences? All that stuff that you do, in reality, there's a lot of, what I call happy coincidence, things you never thought of that could happen. Right. And those things are, wow, Jesus. And you want to put that in your show.
Right. Serendipity has a value. But at the same time, if you got 70% of it out through the visualization, then you have more time for those happy accidents or experimentation when you're on the site. So would you agree there's a net gain?
No, for sure. And also cost-wise, being on site with the whole kit 5 days longer, needing to go and do the whole thing, with rehearsals, with technicians on site, that's a cost. That's a real cost. And we can definitely take that out. In Alula, we had 2 days where we had sandstorms, so we couldn't go on site. Luckily, we did all the things beforehand. And I was able in one night to actually see the whole show except for the finale number and do all the notes and all the things and all the tweaks and stuff in one night, where normally we should have needed 3 nights to really do that if we weren't prepared for it.
I've been a big fan of visualization since 2000, so I think it's been a tool that's, I was a fan when people said, nah, I will never use that. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah. I bought Wig version 1. Or version 1.5.
Me too. No, 3.5. You were ahead of me. I was in a 3.0.
I think I already cashed out then because I felt that they were every time asking $3,000 and $4,000. Every big version, I said, I won't say the word, but
Yeah.
I'm doing it by hands.
Yeah, there was a little bit, right. Well, we spent 5,000 here at the school for the learning version, which was a lifetime.
Oh,
so I've got
good.
that still.
Yeah.
So it's 23
No,
years, and they
they
updated
were
for me.
exaggerating every time, doing again like it's a new version.
Yeah.
If it was like Autodesk, where you have $300 to $500 a year, okay,
right.
that's a good number. But 5,000 every time, every 2-3 years.
No, that's too much.
That was too much.
I think it took me about 7 years to get Gil to do an educational version for students, which now we have.
Yeah.
So that's really helped, and I still teach it, along with other things. But I think just visualization in general gave us a way to communicate and a way to be more efficient than we've ever had before.
Can I give a tip? Something because
yeah, please do.
Because
please.
We use Wig and Depends at the same time, and frankly, the render and output, and of course, you got that all the water stuff also with Depends, which is now really good in Wig. But we use both of them at the same time, and we actually use WYSIWYG for the focus point. Because we put just what thing
black tracks.
Just in the Wig environment, we say here focus. Yeah. All the lights go there. It communicates it with the desk. Of course, you can store it as a cube,
right?
And so Depends use that also because it gives the information and it gives you things. So we are much quicker than before.
Because you're using
using both in a tandem in that kind of way, by using the power of the one to enhance the visualization of the other one, and that's a good tip, I think.
How much does Depends cost? I'll have to look at that. Do they have an academic version? I wonder.
I think they do.
They do,
and they are with models. So the first model is lighting or water, and those are reasonably okay. I think like $2,000 or so. The water model alone is $10K. That's a lot. That's a lot. You really want to run out.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that tip. So just to be friendly, to give you a nice tip, to reciprocate your tip on Depends, which I'm going to look at. Take a look at Lumion.
Oh, we're using Lumion for our landscaping, architectural stuff. Yeah, we're doing that.
We're using it for my students are using it for theater.
Oh, okay.
And it's looking fabulous to get the idea out, just to get concept out. Faster than a Photoshop or so. But do you like it?
Oh, the render of Lumion is perfect for landscaping for us. In architectural things, for sure. It's the moment I think about DMX and cues
but that's something else. The students are using Lumion just to get the idea out of their head to show it to a director or someone else, right? They get the idea very quickly.
Okay, understood.
Of what the intention is.
Okay, understood.
This has been great. Steve, you have the last question.
Sure. So you've been doing this for a while. We have a lot of young listeners, a lot of students. What advice would you give those people? Or what advice would you give yourself when you were 18?
Get a mentor. Yeah, I didn't have that. I started my first business at 14, went straight into being a business owner at 21, which was the legal age to become a business owner at that time. So I never had I never worked for somebody. I was always working with clients, with people. And I don't want to, be too posh about that, but I know what I can give to my fellow people in the office, how I can mentor them, how we can help them become better designers with my experience. And that's the only thing that I said. I wish I would have had somebody like that, a mentor in my life at some point. And maybe I wouldn't have made all those mistakes in my young years. And because he already would have made them for me, and he would have said, no, don't do this. Doesn't work. And I had to find it out all by myself. And I would definitely say that, find a mentor and do the grassroots thing, start from the bottom, learn what gels are, learn how, an inconsistent bulb reacts to a dimmer and how that, is different from LED. Learn what a Fresnel and a PC and what a profile is before you start, pushing buttons on an MA do that, weekly stuff that most of the students who don't go through the grassroots are just seeing moving heads going all around the place. I mean, those basic things are, I think, very important, even if you only do it for a couple of weeks. But if you learn how to look at light in that respect, it will make your life so much easier afterwards when you have hundreds of lights in front of you and you try to get your head around that.
Great stuff. Well, Koert, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a fantastic interview, and I'm going to make all of my students listen to it.
All right. Thank you.
I'll say it is, and it's really great to reconnect with you. And I know I owe you a few articles on live design, so I'm going to get working on
there
those
you go.
very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sorry
and some
that we didn't do it
pages.
sooner.
Cover pages. Been too long, Ellen.
Well, we don't print a magazine anymore. But you'll have to come to LDI in the fall and do all this live. That would be great.
And a light talk trip to Europe with our tour guide.
Yeah.
Koert.
Oh, well,
let's do it. I'm not kidding. Let's do it. That would be great.
I'm serious. I'm ready.
Me too. Spain and France. I'm ready.
Spain, France, Belgium.
Oh, please.
Holland. I will bring you to all the good stuff.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
You got to now. You got to see my studio. I mean, at least you got to see those 22 people.
We're coming. I'm telling you. Be careful what you ask for because I'll take you up on this.
We invite. We entertain a lot of people, so it's not an issue.
We love it. We would
let me know when you're there.
We're on the way. We're on the way. But the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again, you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on Spotify, iTunes, Google, YouTube, livedesignonline.com, Amazon Prime Music, and just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
in case you were wondering, we do have a European office. So if you decide to litigate, the law firm of Flecht, Flock, Flair, and Glare and their paralegal Snoot will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and Sistah, coming to you from St. Bart's, Gainesville, Florida, Dubai in the UAE, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to join us next week when we celebrate Light Talk's amazing 5th anniversary with special guest Tony Award winner Natasha Katz.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
And once again, we want to thank our good friend Koert Vermeulen for joining us today from Dubai, and we'll see you all again on Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.